Today's lesson is 2-6A from the Algebra Readiness textbook. Grab a sharpened pencil, have your notes packet ready, and work these study guide problems. Continue the video as soon as you're done. For the first problem, I see that I'm trying to solve for D. To find the value of D that makes D minus 4 equals 12 a true equation, I need to first draw a line down the equal sign. I need to get D isolated. I get D isolated, or by itself, by using inverse operations. D is subtracting 4, so I will add 4. I immediately write plus 4 to both sides of the equal sign. Minus 4 plus 4 equals 0. Again, I show 0 by using a big X. And then I write D equals 16. Notice that I put my equal sign right on that vertical line so that all lines up. Notice I did not actually write a 0 below negative 4 plus 4. I just wrote the next row. I rewrote the equation, what was left, D equals 16. Then I check my work because I check every problem to be sure that I did it correctly. 16 minus 4 equals 12. 16 minus 4 is 12 on the left and 12 is on the right, so I am sure that this D equals 16 is the solution. Here are some more problems like that. I add 25. Remember, you pay attention to the sign before the number, and you always work with the side that has the variable, which is why I'm working on the right-hand side of this equation first. I immediately write plus 25 on both sides. Negative 25 plus 25 equals 0. T is all that's remaining on the right. 125 plus 25 is 150. And then if you check your answer, which you should have already done, you would see that I have that correct. The next one, we simplify this to adding the opposite, h plus 4 equals 23, before I begin solving. Then I'm ready to solve by using an inverse of adding 4, which is subtracting 4 from both sides. H is all that remains on the left. 23 minus 4 is 19. And then, of course, check your answer, and you will also get 19. So today, we're going to broaden our understanding of solving one-step equations by including solving equations with multiplication. So we've already talked about addition and subtraction, and now we're going to add multiplication as another method of solving one-step equations. Here is a problem, x divided by negative 9 equals negative 3. To solve this problem, the first thing you're going to do is draw a line down the equal sign, just like all the others. I'm going to use the inverse of dividing by negative 9, which is multiplying by negative 9. But in equations and solving equations, it looks a little different when we show multiplication. We always show multiplication with parentheses. So please adopt that same practice of using parentheses side by side to mean multiplication. Now, negative 9, or this means negative 9 times x divided by negative 9. So these cross off, don't they? And all that's left is x over 1, or just x. When I multiply that side by negative 9, I need to multiply this side by negative 9. Notice that I put the negative 9 in parentheses, otherwise it would look like negative 3 minus 9, and we don't want that. Okay, so negative 3 times a negative 9, a negative times a negative is a positive. 3 times 9 is 27. Before I'm ready to declare that as my official answer, I want to check my work by substituting 27 in for x in the original problem. 27 divided by negative 9, does that equal negative 3? Well, 27 divided by 9 is 3. A positive divided by a negative is a negative. And so, yes, that is the correct answer. Okay, let's try a couple more. Always start by drawing a line down your equal sign to help you differentiate the left side from the right. It also helps you make sure that you're doing the same thing to both sides of the equal sign. I can see in letter A that r is being divided by -5. The opposite or inverse operation of dividing by a negative is multiplying by -5. Notice the number -5 stayed the same. I just switched the operation to multiplying. Then I show that these cross off because really they equal 1 by drawing a line through both of them. And then I write r equals -50. So please use that same format of drawing a line through them to show that it crosses out. Notice I didn't draw a line through my variable because my variable r doesn't cross out. It doesn't go away. It stays there. What I'm left with is 1 times r, or just r, which equals -50. And then before I'm ready to declare that my answer, I check my work and I put -50 in for my variable, divided by -5. Does that equal 10? 50 divided by 5 is 10. A negative divided by a negative is a positive, and so I do end up with 10 on both sides. Okay, the next problem. S divided by 6 equals 54. The inverse of dividing by 6 is multiplying both sides by 6. I show multiplication through the use of parentheses, and then I show that this equals 1, or I cross it out, because 1 times s is just s. Then on the right-hand side, I take 54 times 6. Go ahead and do a side problem so that you can get that answer of 54 times 6, or take 6 times 50, and then 6 times 4, and add those together. If you can do that in your head, that's awesome. Either way, you get 324 as your solution. Before we're ready to commit to that solution, we check our answer. Let's substitute 324 in for s, and see if that equals 54. I don't know about you, but I need to do a side problem for that one. Does 6 go into 3? No. Does 6 go into 32? Oh, it sure does, and then I went and wrote a 0. 6 goes into 32 5 times. 5 times 6 is 30. Subtract, I get a 2. Bring down the 4. 6 goes into 24 4 times. And so 54 equals 54. Now I'm ready to say definitively that 324 is my solution. All right, the last one. It does not matter that my variable is on the right. Then I just need to get good at working on the right-hand side. T divided by 20. Well, what's the inverse of dividing by 20? Multiplying by 20. Then I multiply the other side also by 20. This crosses off and I'm left with 1 times t, or just t. 20 times 30 is 600. A positive times a negative is a negative 600. So you have to worry about the number and the sign of your answer. Now, when you've got that, we check our work. And we get -30 equals -600 divided by 20. And yes, I get -30 equals -30. All right, I think you're ready to try some on your own. Pause the video and work these 4 problems. Come on back when you're ready to compare your answers with mine. All right, hopefully you multiplied both sides by -4. And your answer is 64. In the second problem, hopefully you saw that x is dividing by -40, and so we need to multiply both sides by -40. And when you do that, you get -160,000. The next problem gets a little trickier because you've got this negative out front, right? Well, here's what I want you to know. I'm going to do a little side instruction here to help you understand. If I gave you a problem like 10 divided by -5, you would tell me that that equals -2. If I gave you the problem -10 divided by +5, that also equals -2. Or if I gave you the problem with a negative out front, 10 divided by 5, you would say -2. So notice it doesn't matter where you put the negative sign. If you put it in the denominator, as in my first example, the numerator, as in my second example, or out in front, as is in my third example, your solution will always be the same. That being said, you're going to take this negative sign and assign it to the number. So put it with the number and then ignore it out in front so that you can continue on with the problem. So we are going to multiply both sides by -30. Then these cross off, and I'm left with S equals -180, and then of course check your work. The same thing is true for this next problem. Switch back to blue. I've got a negative out in front, but let's call that -42, and then ignore the other negative. And so I'm ready to multiply both sides by -42. And my answer is -252. All right, and then of course, make sure you're checking your work. All right, here are two more problems. Give these a try and pause the video. Come on back after you've worked the problem and checked your solution. Okay, hopefully once you work these problems, you got the same answers as me. All right, here's one more. Pause the video. Try this problem. Come on back to compare. See if you got the same answer. All right, and in completing your problem, hopefully you ended up with E equals -400. And now it sounds like you're ready to work the exam or work your homework. So give the homework a try.